Hello friends, welcome back to our channel. So in our previous session we have seen the differences between Git and GitHub. So there we have studied that both are completely different. So Git is a commands which will be used in our local system, and GitHub is a remote repository. So these Git commands will be used to move the files from local repository to the remote repository. Now we'll see how can we configure this Git and GitHub. So in this we will be using a different commands, Git commands, in order to move the files from local repository to remote repository, as well as from a remote repository to local repository. So we'll see the procedure, and in our next session I'll clearly explain the command syntaxes. Right. So first let us understand what exactly done between the Git and GitHub. So here you will be seeing the image. So here there will be three areas. One is a working directory, so where we are going to work the files, where we are having the code files, right, source code. And first we have to add that files from working directory by using the git add command, so that the files will be stored in the staging area, so which is ready to store in the local repository. And by using this git commit command, the whatever the files which are in the staging area will be moved to the local repository. And once the files are ready in the local repository, we are going to use a push command to push the files from the local repository to the remote repository. So in order to get the files from remote repository to the local repository, that means from GitHub. So here you just imagine that remote repository is a GitHub. So from this GitHub, if you want to get the files into your local system, so we are supposed to use this git pull command. So we can also use a git pull command, or we can also use a two commands, that is a fetch command and a merge command. So even though if you are using a pull command, that will implicitly execute the two commands, fetch and merge, right? So this is the working environment of Git and GitHub. So this is completely Git, that means which will be work on your local system, and this is a remote repository, that is a GitHub. Now we'll see how we can configure between the Git and GitHub. So I have prepared some slides with a complete procedure. So see, this is a procedure. First we need to install the Git. Already I have shown you the installation procedure of Git in a Linux environment, and now I'll show everything in the Linux environment, and the same procedure can be done in the Windows environment. So the only difference is a command prompt. So there we are calling it as a DOS prompt, and here we are calling it as a terminal. That's the only difference. So first we need to install the Git, and then we have to create a new directory in the terminal by using a command called mkdir, and we need to change the directory into that particular directory which we have created. And then we have to initialize the Git by using the init command, so that one Git repository will be created in your local system. Now we'll see that one. So in my VMware, I am having the Linux environment, and here I am just opening the terminal right now. So let us check whether Git has been installed or not by using a version, by checking the version Git followed by --version. So if I got a version, yes, that implies Git is already installed in my system. Now what we have to do? So first we have to create a directory. So in order to create a directory, I am using mkdir, and I'll create the directory as some demo. Okay, demo underscore commands, right? Yes. So one directory has been created. You can see ls, yes, demo underscore commands. Now I need to change the directory into this one. So demo underscore commands, and now this was completed, and now we need to initialize this one git init by using the git init command. So it was initialized. So here you can observe initialized empty git repository in home Sundeep demo commands and .git. So you can observe whether there are any files in the demo commands. So you will be finding nothing. Just use a LA, that means some hidden. So you'll be getting, see, .git file is already here, right? That means initialization is completed. Now what we have to do, so the next step for this one is we need to configure the username and email. So by using this one, we need to confirm the user ID and email of a GitHub. So git config global user dot name space, give the username of your GitHub. And if you got the command, if you got the prompt immediately, that implies the command has been worked perfectly, right? If there is any error, we'll get that error displayed here. So once again, git config hyphen global user dot name and give any email ID your wish. So abc at some gmail.com. I'm giving any email ID, no problem. And just check whether this username, sorry, once again we have taken the username itself. So yes, so one is a username, the first one will be the username and second one should be email. So this is a completely wrong. So let us clear everything, and once again I'll use a username, my name Sundeep Saradhi, and I'll use a email, and I have to change here name as user.email, and yes. Now check git and the command to check whether they have been configured, config double hyphen list. So git config double hyphen list. You can see the email is given, the username is given, right? So now the configured is completed, right? Now we have to create the repository in the GitHub. That means a remote repository. For that, open the browser and log into your GitHub account. If you are not having the GitHub account, just create your own GitHub account and log into your GitHub account with the given username and password. Right? Once you have created, then we can create a new repository in the GitHub of your own account. So just wait, I'm opening the browser. Once it was opened, we'll open the GitHub. See, so here I'll open the website github.com. So the GitHub will be opened and log into this one. So already I have logged in to my GitHub account, right? You can see Sundeep Saradhi, this is my account. And at present I am not having any repositories. I have completely removed all the repositories, existing repositories, in order to avoid the confusion. So let us create a new repository, and you will be finding here create repository, or you can simply use here plus create a new repository. So different options will be there. So here you can also click on this one, create a new repository. So I'll go, you can use any option here in order to create the repository. So here the owner, which is our username, and here you need to give the repository name. So here I am giving my repository name as demo, or first repository, first repository, first. Okay, so it will show that whether the repository name is available or not. If it is not available, we need to change the repository name, right? And here there is one more option, description. So you can give the complete description about your remote repository. So what is the code you want to push into this particular remote repository, everything. And this is completely optional. You may or you may not fill this one. And you will be finding two more options, like whether this repository you are supposed to make it as a public or a private. If it is a public, anyone on the internet can see this repository, and you choose who can commit. So who are wished to use this repository, you can select this one. And if you select this private, that cannot be seen to everyone, right? And see, this is a initialize the repository with the add a readme file. So if this checkbox is unchecked, so the empty repository will be created. And if you select this checkbox, a repository will be created with one file, that is a readme file. Okay, so just to create a repository, I'm creating the repository, making public, and my repository will be having the default file as a readme file. So I am clicking on the create repository, and see, once it was created, we can see the file readme file will be available. So other than readme, no file will be available in the repository. See, you can see this is the first repository, and here there will be different branches similar to our folders, and main is our branch. Okay, main is our branch. You can also create a more number of branches that we'll see in our further sessions, and this is a main branch. And so imagine a main is nothing but a folder. Okay, in main folder we are creating our content, and there is only one file is having the Sundeep Saradhi, that's my username, and demo first is the repository name. In this first repository we are having only one file, readme.md file. Now clone this to the local repository. So here you will be seeing this one code. So click on drop down, so you'll be finding the link. Okay, copy this link and go to the terminal, and in this just use a command called git clone. So before that, check what are the files available in this demo commands. So there are no files. Now clone, git clone, and paste it. So I have pasted the same thing, github.com Sundeep Saradhi first.git, execute. So cloning into first. So you can observe now the repository, whatever the repository we have created in the remote side, that means a GitHub, that has been cloned here. And in the first repository, what we are having a readme.md file, and here also you can now change the directory into the first and give ls. So you'll be finding here, see, readme.md. So whatever the files available in the remote repository, we have cloned everything into our local repository. Now in this particular repository, first I am creating one file. So I'm using one text editor. Already in our previous session I have shown you what are the possible text editors we can use in the Linux environment. So you can use any text editor to create a file. I will create one text editor. So I'll use gedit index.html. Okay, this is one text editor. So here I can write one code, right? I'll write my complete source code here. Just I'll write a small thing. See, h1 welcome to HTML. So I have written the only simple code, so which will display the welcome.html. So now you can see ls. So I'm having two files in the local repository. So observe, this terminal is a local repository, and that will also be in the first itself. And you can see in the GitHub we are having the first repository with the name first, and here we are having only one file, right? See, here we are having only one file in the remote repository, but in the local repository we are having two files. Now we are supposed to add these files into remote repository. So what happens? According to our program, first we need to add so that it will be stored in the stacking area by using an add command. So git add, give the command, give the file name which we want to add, HTML, or else you can also use a command called status, which gives the status which is not included, right? So you can see this is untracked files, index.html, which is available in the local repository but not available in the remote repository. So now I am using git add index.html, so it will be added. Now you can check again, you can use a status and see changes to be committed. You can observe the color code also. So if it is an untracked file, that means if the file is not added into the remote repository, that will be in a red color, and we have added it, so it will be into the stacking area. So after going to the stacking area, we need to use a command in order to go into the local repository. Now what we have to do, we need to commit. So whatever the changes we have done, that should be committed. So git commit and give the comment when you have changed. So I have changed on 12.4. Okay, 12.4 or 24, right? So this is a comment. So when we have actually changed the file, so I have executed, you can see here one file changed, 4 insertions, create mode, and now the file index.html is available in the local repository. So in order to push the local from the file from the local repository to the remote repository, we need to authenticate it. Okay, we need to authenticate. See whatever we have done here. See, we have created the new repository, we have cloned the new repository, we have created a file, HTML file, we have added, and we have checked the status, we have committed. Now we need to authenticate ourselves, and that should be done with the help of it creating it tokens. So for this token, we need to go to the remote repository, that means GitHub, and click on this here. Go to the settings. And inside the settings, so you'll be finding the left menu. So inside the left menu, scroll down and click on the developer settings. So click on the developer settings and see, you will be finding the personal access tokens, and see, click on the token, and you will be finding the two options, fine grained tokens and the token classic. So click on the token classic. So you will be finding a different tokens here, and you will be finding one option called a generate new token. Click on here and generate new token classic, and now you need to give the name for a token. So here you can give a token as some I'll give it as a some KSS. Okay, KSS underscore token, right? And we can also give the expiration of that particular token, when it should be expired, 7 days, 30, 60, 90, custom, or no expiration. So there will be no expiration. Okay, so I'll keep it default, and here you can see select the scopes where we can use the token. Okay, for all the repositories we can use the token. For a workflow you can use the token. Packages, when deleting the packages, admin and admin public key, admin repository hook, admin organization hook, GIST notifications. You select all the checkboxes, because everywhere we can use the repository, we can use the token, right? So select all the checkboxes here. So once you select all the checkboxes and click on the generate token, and the token will be generated. See, the token will be generated. Just copy the token here, and now use a command called set remote, git remote set URL origin, and paste the token at the rate github.com/username/ our repository name. Click enter, and you can check the I'll show you the command here, right? See this is one, git remote set URL origin https. We forget this one, right? Yeah, http origin, and here we need to give https // and after that token at the rate github.com, and here you need to give the username and the repository. Now yes, so we have done it, executed. Now we are successfully authenticated, and now we need to push the complete details to main branch. So git and see, in local repository we are having index.html, readme.md, rogue2 files, and coming to this remote repository, we are having only one file, that is a readme.md, right? Yes, so click on this repository. All the repositories will be listed here, and we are having only one file here. Now we need to push. So git push origin, and here we need to give the branch name. So what is the branch name here? Main. So I am giving here main. So automatically the data will be pushed. Now you can see here we are having a 2 files, and just refresh this one. So now you can find this is a GitHub, that means a remote repository. We are having only one file. So just refresh it. You will be finding the 2 files, that is a index.html. Okay, you got this index.html, and this is a command when we have changed this file. Okay, and you can check, you can click on this one, we can read the code, whatever the code here. See, we can even edit the code, right? So here you will be having a different files. So the push command is used to push the complete details. And now if you have changed the code in the remote repository, see, you can check here. So I'm changing the code in the remote repository, so I'm adding some more content here, right? So h1, thank you, and I'll again write h1 index.html, right? So I have completely changed the code, so I have updated the code, and click on the commit changes. So yes, commit changes. So you can see, okay, now you can see in our remote repository we are having two files, index and readme, and if you open the index.html, we'll be having the 3 lines of code. And here also we are having a index.html. Okay, now just check the content of index.html. What happens? So we are having only 1 line of code. Now what we can simply pull that. So git use a pull, git pull. So here we are having the first repository, here also we are having the first repository. Use this git pull command, so automatically whatever the modifications have been done in the remote repository, see here we are having, right, and that will be reflected here. That means the index.html will be again cloned from the remote repository. Now you can observe gedit index.html. so here we'll be having the 3 lines of code. So now the complete code has been copied from remote repository to the local repository by using the pull command. So you can use a pull command or uh, mm, fetch and merge commands. Fetch and merge commands. Okay, and also see, you can add one more file, about.html, html h1 about us. Okay, so I have created one more file here, create yes, commit about.html, and see 3 files are here, but here we are having only one file, sorry, one file, index.html, and again use a git pull command, and let us check whether that has been stored. Yes, we got about.html also. So pull is similar to our clone. So whatever the files we have added in the GitHub, that can be cloned to our local repository by using pull. So this is a complete whole diagram to understand what happens in the Git and GitHub. So these are the commands we are using in the Git. Okay, that means a local repository, and the complete commands are used to move the files from local repository to remote repository and remote repository to local repository. So just one thing we have to remember, local repository means the directory which is available in our own system, and remote repository means a GitHub. So we have to move the files from our system to GitHub and GitHub to our system. So these are the few commands, right? So already we have seen a lot of commands right now, right? So we have seen the syntaxes of all these commands, and in our next session I'll go with the, once again I'll tell you the complete syntax of all these commands if possible. Okay, so hope you understood, and if you enjoyed my session, like my session, share my session with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching. Thank you very much.